All right. So, with that, I'm going to start by welcoming Marian Bixel, Vice President of External Affairs for Comcast Pacific Northwest region. Marian's going to start us off with some information on Comcast Rise grants and services that are now available to support regional small businesses. Marian?
Hey, well, thank you so much, Lee. I am so happy to be here. So happy to make this announcement. So Comcast is kicking off another round of our RISE program, and this is a program that is helping small businesses in King County. So what it is that everybody who is interested, if you have a small business that is 100 person or less in King County, you can apply for a grant by going to ComcastRise.com. The application process is open now until the end of May. So what is the grant process package? Well, it includes cash grants, it includes technical assistance, it includes business consultation, and it even includes media promotional support for these small businesses. In total, we're gonna give out grant packages to 100 businesses. After you fill out the application, we'll announce the winners in August, and those winners will get a package that is worth up to $40,000 each. So we're putting close to $4 million into helping small businesses in King County. If you own a small business and you want to apply, you can do that right now. If you know somebody who could benefit from these packages, please spread the word. We're really pleased. Comcast is really excited about this program. We've come back. This is our third round of doing this in the King County area. So we're just so excited that we can help our economy and help small businesses. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Marianne. And I did share that website in the chat, but again, it's comcastrise.com. So I will now move us along by welcoming our moderator, Lynette Buffington, who is Chief of Staff here at the Seattle Metro Chamber, and she'll walk us through the rest of the program.
Great, Lee. Good morning, everybody. I'm really happy to be here and see once again so many familiar names in the participant list. So thank you for joining us today. Before we get into the program, just a couple reminders. One, the Seattle Metro Chamber is producing trainings and briefings around World Cup. Our brand is called World Cup Ready. We're producing these and they are open like today for anybody and everybody. So feel free to promote these to your members, your stakeholders, your partners. If you're a chamber or a membership-based organization, please feel free to share these. This isn't something where only the chamber can come to. Your businesses can certainly come along as well. And details are being sorted, but June 3rd, we will be having a webinar about an RFP that we are distributing for especially probably a technical assistance provider to help direct the playbook we are developing. That is a different conversation for a different day, but I'm just trying to tease you out with a June 3rd webinar, and we'll be getting that information out. And then we'll get right into the program because it's what you came here for. You did not come here for me. I would love to introduce Eric Corning. He's with the Seattle Sports Commission. He's a project director for their body of work around the World Cup. You're going to hear the term playbook used a lot, and those of us that are producing those are also trying to make sure that we are articulating the differences here, and Eric will do that. But at this time, I'd like to give Eric the floor and let him get into what the Sports Commission has been cooking up. Eric, the floor is yours.
Fantastic. Thank you, Lynette. I'm going to share my screen. Make sure I get to the right one. So thank you so much. So the Seattle Sports Commission has been working with with FIFA, our local operating organization committee, and many others in preparation for FIFA 2026. One of the events that is brand new for this year that's come up is the FIFA 2025 Club World Cup. So as we talk about what FIFA World Cup events are coming up, there's actually two. The FIFA World Cup will come to Seattle in June of this year, so just this next month, and then the FIFA World Cup 2026 will be in Seattle in June of 2026. So the Sports Commission, in our part, has been creating a watch party playbook. And so again, I just want to be able to find this on the Sports Commission site coming to the 2025 World Cup. And then the playbook is the watch party playbook is here. And again, what we're looking to do is be able to take this generational event that we're really excited about and be able to find out have people share this in ways that they can within their communities and be able to have watch parties, because there'll be people who will make it into the stadium and be able to see them live, but many more people will be able to just watch these on streaming. So the watch party playbook, again, try to be able to make it easy for folks to be able to understand the parameters, what it takes to do the licensing and all of that. So I'm just going to take you on a quick tour of this guide. One other thing to know about this guide is this is specifically for Club World Cup 2025. In July, we'll put out a new watch party playbook that is specific to World Cup 2026. So this information here that we're going to look at today is specifically for the tournament that's starting this next month. The Again, I'm not going to read word for word throughout the guide, but this is kind of the basics around it. That this tournament is using clubs from around the world. So the Sounders qualified to be a part of this. The Miami team in MLS has been a part of this. There's also teams that are coming from France, from Brazil, Japan is coming to Seattle, and all over. But they're the actual clubs that compete in these tournaments that have qualified to be able to be a part of this. So there's no fan fest events, like we'll talk about more of those for 2026. But we know that there are a number of folks that are setting up watch parties. Some down in the there's groups down in the Pioneer Square area. There's groups that are looking at Westlake as well as up at the Seattle Center, and then many other private events. So the the licensing and whatnot, again, we'll get to this here in just a moment. The actual venues, again, they're going to play them just in the United States here for the 2025 Club World Cup. So you can see this is just two on the West Coast, and the rest of them are in the Midwest and East Coast. The actual games that they're going to play here in Seattle, Botafogo, I believe, is from Brazil, and they are going to play this on June 15th at 7 p.m. Notice that the game times here, if you're going to hold a watch party, are made for sometimes a European audience, that it starts at noon or starts at 3 p.m. Again, June 21st is noon. The June 23rd event is at noon, and then 6 p.m. for the final one. But the Sounders have three games here in Seattle. So the June 15th, the June 19th, which is the Juneteenth event, and June 23rd, which I believe is going to be a Pride event, branded event through there. So again, you can the matches, again, when you're doing this watch party, the Sounders matches off obviously be important to folks that are from here or from this region, but there'll be a lot of great soccer from of places all over the United States for this tournament. So part of this guide was trying to be able to talk a little bit about what a watch party is and some elements for success. And again, the guide's not trying to be able to tell you in Seattle versus what it takes to do this in Yakima or Bellevue or South Seattle or whatnot. But we wanted to be able to give some guidelines around this about, securing your watch party, your viewing license, and getting your venue. And again, we'll talk here in a minute about the using creative titles without using the FIFA intellectual property, and also going to your local municipality about any required permits. So starting first with the TV licensing. So this is going to be streamed through a company called DAZN, DAZN. pronounced DAZN, and there are the pricing there you can see on the right. This is for all 63 games. That it's if you have less than 500 people at your event, they have a contact there that you can go negotiate a price, and then the rest of the pricing is there for all 63 games. We asked the folks at DAZN if they could make a single game pricing, so in case you just wanted to show the 3 Sounders games that are being played here in Seattle. They came up with a price of $2,250 per game. So once you get beyond 3 or 4 games, you're pretty close to that $12,500 mark. But we will update this document. I believe that's going to happen tomorrow or Monday with the specifics on how to be able to speak with the folks at DAZN directly about this specific way to be able to do the games one at a time instead of doing the all 63 games. Use of trademark words and graphics. Again, there's a lot of things we cannot say. We're not supposed to say FIFA, Club Cup, World Cup, or Club World Cup. Again, those are FIFA's trademark words and intellectual property. There's also FIFA logos and graphics and whatnot that we're not allowed to use because they have their sponsors and other folks on their that again, that's their intellectual property. We know we can use soccer and tournament, and thinking of creative ways to think about this if it's the big game instead of calling it the Super Bowl. We also know that we can use the team names like the Sounders versus Paris Saint-Germain, but not any of their official marks or logos. So I asked my graphic design team to be able to come up with something of what you can do and what you can't do, and they came up with this Spokane Soccer Watch Party, and showed us just a really basic design of what we can and can't say. Again, some more watch party tips about some considerations about security and safety, and as well as that you may be in a region that has limited police and fire resources. We know that it's going to take a lot of effort on the Seattle Police and Fire Department to be able to work around the stadium area and make sure that those areas are safe, in addition to other regions that may have sent some support to Seattle on that. So please check in with your agencies. I know in the city of Seattle, the Special Events Department has set up a landing page to be able to help be able to guide you on those resources. But again, if you're on private property using private security and whatnot, you're obviously kind of a step ahead there of being able to do your event. And again, at the watch party event ideas themselves about using themes around the teams, being able to do some pre-match activities, playing the EA Sports, the sports soccer games and trivia and bingo cards, and kind of all of the similar things you would expect for other watch parties. We have some resources here for the actual Club World Cup, links for their social accounts, as well as links for, this is the Seattle FWC 26. That's our local organizing committee. And again, you can see a little of the roadmap of going towards 2026, but it'll give you some information about that. We had mentioned about playbooks being, we're going to say that a lot here. There's actually 3 playbooks in the plan at this point. So the Watch Party Playbook, the one that you're seeing here, where we launched this in April of 2025. And again, this is just for Club World Cup. We'll relaunch a 2026 version of this in July. The Visit Seattle is producing a community branding playbook that'll come out in July, August of 2025. And that is an opportunity to be able to, we say in our Watch Party Playbook, all these things you can't do. The Visit Seattle is creating a book that talks about the things we can do and try to be able to come up with some marketing and some graphics that we can use statewide to be able to show our support and be able to kind of brand the 2026 tournament and having a similar look and feel. And then our Seattle Metro Chamber, they'll talk more about this, about their small business mega event playbook. So lastly here, we really want to hear about your watch party. We're trying to be able to have you submit your watch party plans, and we will use that in a number of ways, but one of them is that there's an opportunity for Seattle to become one of the sites for the 2029 World's Women's World Cup to have games here in Seattle. And part of what we want to do is be able to show that in addition to all the amazing things that happened around the stadium, that happened at the Seattle Center at the 2026 event and across the state, that we also had all of these watch parties that happened for World Cup and Club World Cup. So we'd love to be able to hear what you're doing, so we can add that to our storytelling as we move forward about the success that we had in Seattle and across the state. My email address is on here, the eric@seattlesports.org. Please feel free to be able to reach out to me at any time. And again, this document that we're looking at online here will be updated a number of times between now and Club World Cup. As we get information in various times, and we'll try to keep this up to date as best we can. But anyway, but thank you. Appreciate your time, and appreciate you giving me a moment to be able to go share this watch party playbook.
Great. Thank you so much, Eric. Before we move to Chris, there's enough questions in the chat that I'd like to address just the nuance of this, that can this playbook be considered, this is my characterization, so this is your opportunity to correct me on the record. Can this be considered a preview of the guidelines, practices, maybe best practices for FIFA World Cup? Are you estimating consistent guidelines, but without committing too much? Are you estimating consistent guidelines?
Yeah, so yes and no. So yes, for the what is a watch party and how do we do these and execute on them, and having the resources across the state that maybe what's available to you next year. The FIFA and not using their marks, that will all remain true, kind of like a Super Bowl. But the thing that'll change next year will be the licensing for the television streaming and whatnot, because that is done through Fox and Telemundo in the United States, and they'll have a separate way of being able to do that, separate pricing and whatnot. So it'll be different next year in that the games will be played on Fox Sports and nationally, but to be able to have a commercial streaming license, even if your event is free and you were going to go hold it at your church and be able to go do this, you'll still need to be able to get the licensing for that.
Thank you for that nuance. Okay. And Lee, is it okay if I ask a couple specific questions to Eric before I get into Chris? Is that
Yeah, totally. We have plenty of time for that.
All right. So Kimberly Ellertson has some good questions here. Can a business get a licensing agreement for just one game at a lower price?
Yes.
You mentioned 20. Okay, great.
Yep, and that information will be in the guide. I would look early next week. We'll have the exact links of who you would email directly to get that special price.
Great. And the playbook will be hosted on the Sports Commission's website. So that is the dynamic thing. If we give out a PDF, it will probably be out of date as soon as it gets sent. So we always want to go to the website. Yep. And then you don't have, I think you already addressed this, you don't have an idea of the 26 licensing because it's totally different ball of wax.
Correct. We've been told by FIFA that we expect to have that sometime in the fall, but that could be August, it could be October. We just don't know when they will release that for us.
And I think we've already answered this, for contacting Karen or anybody for this pricing for either a single game or less than 500, that information will be updated. Let's see, can a DMO, destination marketing organization, who isn't hosting a watch party, but just talking about the tournament and promoting watch parties in our destination, refer to Club World Cup and FIFA World Cup on a website, or do we also need to call them the soccer match?
Yeah, so this is the very official terms on this, is that we're not supposed to use FIFA's terms anywhere. In your talking about this webinar that we're on today, we talked about this in terms of FIFA and whatnot, so people would know what we're talking about. The very official terms, and if you went right to the letter of the law, they'd say no, you can't do that. The reality is there has to be some give and take in this, but I don't have I don't represent FIFA at all to be able to say any of those things along there. You may receive a letter. I know that one anecdotal piece that the folks up in Bellingham were looking to hire somebody to be able to be a FIFA coordinator for the city, because I knew that they were right on the cusp of the Vancouver games, and they called it a FIFA city coordinator or whatnot. And the FIFA lawyer sent him a note, said, you cannot call this a FIFA city coordinator person. So again, knowing that AI is out there and other tools like that, but I don't have a clear guideline to be able to say that, other than if we're doing a watch party, it's very clear that we're not supposed to call it, we're not supposed to refer to it as FIFA or use any of their IP.
Okay. Okay. A question about can we share this information publicly? You bet.
Oh
That
yeah,
link
please
for
do.
this, we'll get that link out. You can share this video, even this recording, which is going to be on our YouTube. So you bet, go for it. The Karen Oberoi email isn't working. I'm thinking you're going to get that updated. I think people were
Yep.
clicking on it. Yep. We don't know how the licensing fee is going to change. A question that about if we're going to host more webinars, yes, I'll respond to that person directly. And then will the licensing fee be on top of the fee to have I'm not going to say it right, DAZN, customer fee?
DAZN.
DAZN, I'm going to
Yeah,
need to learn that one. Okay, DAZN customer fee, yeah.
yeah.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, my understanding is that there is a that you would that the fee is just you're licensing just this tournament. You're not uh and again, that's in my conversations with the zone, it's just the fee is what we're talking about.
Okay, okay, great. You can still enter questions for Eric, but we're going to move to our next speaker, and this is going to be Chris Swenson from the City of Seattle. He's the Interim Special Events Office in Office of Economic Development in Seattle, talking about permitting. And now some of you aren't from Seattle in this audience, but I think there's some good practices to hear from Chris, and then it could probably Chris won't give you guidance, but it's probably going to inspire your interactions with your local government about permitting and licensing for major events. Either if you decide to do something related to Club World Cup because you have a large fan base in your community, or as you're planning and thinking about what next year will look like. So Chris, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Lynette. Hi, everybody. Hope you can all hear me. Thank you for the introduction. And yes, this what I'll share and the roadmap that we're putting together here for the City of Seattle is once you get outside of your business, once you, as Eric mentioned, if you're on private property and are doing watch parties or other event activities, the city doesn't get involved in that in a permitting sense. Probably like an alcohol licensing sense, you would probably need to do that. But anything that gets out onto public right of way or into parks is what we're looking to coordinate. I'm going to share my screen here if I can. What we've been developing at the city, knowing and seeing the activity or activations that are being planned. Let's see, I think I got it. Is a process that is as streamlined as it can get. We considered creating new permit pathways and coordination pathways through legislation, and really the systems are there. It's just a matter of knowing where to go and getting the best customer service when you need to get there and the best answers about what you need to do. So this is a fun roadmap. That is our Muppet character at the top. He's not our mascot, but this person wants to throw an event. So there are three major pathways that we're putting together. If you're a big event, you will likely go through the special event permit and special event committee process, and that pathway on the left shows the potential for other agencies that would be involved. This would be for like closing a major street or extending into a road closure or doing a 1,000-person or more event in a park for a watch party. On the right side, if it's a smaller event, there are several options. One is what is the pathway that Eric just mentioned. If you get the permission from the FIFA to have the watch party, and then you have it on your private property, or there are other events that might need some minor permission from the city for smaller parties. up to 50 people or so, closing a residential street or a small portion of a park. And then the pathway in the middle is intended for the big fan fest that's happening at Seattle Center. Again, this applies both to the 2025 Club World Cup and also the 2026 FIFA World Cup. From our perspective, that is what we're developing. I'm going to share the website. We're working in partnership, of course, with the Chamber, with the Sports Commission, with the LOC, with Visit Seattle on all of the playbooks and information that they are sharing. We're trying not to duplicate that. Rather, if you do need permission from the city, we want you to go to one place so we can get you to the right person to talk to and not get bounced around or have you try to call 4 or 5 different agencies. So we're calling that the Seattle Events and Activities Unified Permitting, CUP. So we're standing that up. I'll put this link in the chat here in a moment, and we'll walk you through it here. Again, the special events office is really the portal to call. That's us. The CUP is a special events office. And then based on those pathways, we really have 3 different options for you. Hosting the watch party on private property. As Eric mentioned, you're probably just going to be dealing or using the playbook that Eric walked through, and then working directly with whoever gives the rights to do that. See, the city does not get in your business on that. If you are operating on public property, there are thresholds. There are some things that are really simple and you're working with one agency, and then the more activity that you have in that public property activation, the more agencies you will need to work with, which then usually triggers the special events process. Things like serving alcohol or selling alcohol, having a food truck vendor or sales vendors, or closing an arterial street or reserving street parking outside of a residential area. Those often trigger that multi-department review, which is the special event process. On our page, we have a general permit timeline expectation of timelines based on the complexity of the activity that you're doing. If you're thinking of something like the night out where you're closing your block with garbage cans or or A-frames, that is pretty easy and quick to do. So that's a single pathway all the way up to closing an arterial or a major street for restricted gate entry and things like that. These are general guidelines, but our advice is really, if you're thinking of doing any of these things, reach out way in advance so that we can give you enough time, or so that we can give you enough time, and that you are giving the agencies enough time to process it. We're expecting a high number of events like this of varying sizes. So the earlier in advance you can plan, the better. And then, of course, we are pointing outward towards all of the resources, including the playbook that Eric just went over, as they're developed and built. So if it's something that's not specifically related to a public property event permitting, we can get you where you want to go there. And I'll stop there. That's it where it is right now.
Great, thank you, Chris. I am going to go to the Q&A. So we have, again, the questions for me to moderate need to go in the Q&A. If you put it in the chat, it just goes to panelists, so it's a little hard to jump from both windows. So if we could also get Eric on screen, and we'll go from there. Okay. All right, this is for Chris. Is that timeline for permitting with vendors also applicable for hosting a watch party at my private property and business?
That actually, I think, is an Eric question. If you're
Okay.
not, so that's just for permitting, for city permitting, and it's not attached to any permission that you would get to actually show the match.
Eric, is that in alignment with what?
Yes. Yep. Basically the licensing with DAZN, they bought that right from the FIFA, and then they're the official distributor of the games worldwide.
Okay. And then we have another question on the licensing. And excuse me if it's been answered in different ways because I'm monitoring two places, but there's language in the playbook that states licensing is not required if viewing at home or in a sports bar setting. Does that mean that the sports bar doesn't need the license?
Yeah, the sports bar will need a license. There's just a different process through DAZN for sports bars, and they'll need to go through that. It won't be the same thing as we're doing here through watch parties. But if you're just going to watch at home, I believe that there is they will have links as we get closer to the tournament to be able to see that, be able to view the games at home. But it won't be a watch party, anything with a watch party licensing sort of thing, since it's just at your house.
Okay. How was the U.S. Watch Party's fee schedule calculated? I'm assuming that's owned by the media companies, not really,
Yeah.
it's outside of our understanding of things. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. I'm just going, okay. Do we know, and this is, Eric, I think this is asking a lot of you on this, so we might need to bring Visit Seattle into this. Do we have an idea from other World Cups what the visitors are looking for, what kind of events they will attend, not official watch parties? Any speculation on that? I'll give my 2 cents, but I would love to let Chris or Eric know.
Yeah, I'll just give you a little bit of what I know. At the Region Ready event, they had Expedia and a couple other groups did spoke about this, and that the folks coming in for sports tourism tended to stay around for, from 2 to 6 days, and would go do different things around the community. And so the opportunity to be able to have them on non-game days or after games, because they're happening at noon, be able to go do various other activities was high. But I don't have any specifics around what those things are or how they, the folks at Visit Seattle obviously are putting a lot of effort into the talking to those tourists coming in about here's other things to do in Seattle.
Right. Chris, anything to add to that?
Yeah, that's our understanding as well, that if you're visiting or if you're even a Seattleite coming down for the game, you are going to look for the places, whatever else is going on. It may not be a watch party, but folks will want to go to a cafe that's open before, after, experience some nightlife, go to the museum and things like that. So it's my understanding is that there's data that shows that from other major um, soccer-related tournaments as well.
Right. At this point, if you look at who's coming for 2025, we know that they had mentioned at Region Ready that there is a Japanese population coming to see this Japanese club team be able to play in Seattle, and that these native Japanese speakers be able to come out. Are you as a business going to do something to be able to attract them to be able to come participate in your world at all?
And just for awareness, we don't know what countries are coming here until December-ish of 25. So
That is correct.
yeah. And
Yeah,
so for the FIFA World Cup 26, that draw is sometime in December. We're just now saying Q4, and we'll know who's coming here, which will could greatly impact the style and flavor of activations and celebrations that communities host. Okay, we have a question. The SSC watch party presentation indicates a watch party in a sports bar does not require licensing, but did Eric just say that it would?
I believe, from what I've told from DAZN, that they need to go back to DAZN to be able to go do that licensing directly with them. I can verify that of what that process is, but they were, I don't know, they had characterized it as like if you're a sports bar, you will know about the typical way you connect with DAZN, and that they do lots of sports year round all over the world.
Okay. And is there a difference between a sports bar that says it's a sports bar versus a bar that has a TV that runs, you know, all the time? Is there a difference in designation in licensing or anything like that? So if I'm just a
Yeah.
tavern that has a bar, a TV above the bar back, like, do I have to worry about it versus being a legit sports bar?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I think that's probably one of those questions to have to DAZN of like how do they characterize a bar that has a TV in it versus what a sports bar, traditional one we're thinking about. But I would ask them that question.
Okay. Will the chamber port or other agency be issuing any guidance regarding municipal watching events? That this seems more towards businesses. The chamber isn't in a place to give guidance on that. We know that there's 9 designated fan zone cities throughout regions or counties throughout the state that will be in charge of running their own fan fest in their community. Whoever's behind that at those locations, I'm not aware of, and that is locally determined and locally funded. But if I'm just kind of speculating here, if a small town is interested in opening up their park and doing a watch party and things like that, they're going to have to lean on the guidance from the next version of the playbook for FIFA World Cup 26. Is that accurate, Eric?
That is exactly right. So
Okay.
even if you wanted to, open up the park, we've spoken with the folks down in Tumwater, Washington, who their parks department wanted to go make an outdoor viewing of the World Cup 2025. It's really the same as any other watch party happening around the state, whether you were a parks department or whether you were a commercial business.
Okay. Chris, don't want you to feel left out. Got something for you. The link that you talked about says it's for the 2026 games, but the 2025 the Club World Cup games begin in about a month. Will permitting be at a pace that can turn around in time for folks to do anything that they may want to associate with Club World Cup?
Yes, the page is really and the information really is preparing for 2026. The timelines don't change generally. Those are general turnaround timelines for activations. If and in particular, if you're looking to do a major event that requires a special event permit, it does take the committee that long to turn things around. Can be done a little faster. If there's something that pops up that you want to do this really big, call us and we'll see. We'll let you know if it's doable. It may, if you are interested and you're thinking big, that may necessitate pivoting or making adjustments within the timelines. So if something, some of those timelines are bound by external agencies too. If you're serving alcohol, you need a minimum time to be able to get an alcohol service license, which is part of that coordination. So things are tied differently. I would say if there are again, if there are specific things that you're interested in doing or exploring, give us a call and we'll walk through it with you.
Okay. Back to you, Eric. What about watch party events expecting more than 50 but less than 300?
Yeah, so that is the calling I believe her name was Lauren or
Yeah, no, yeah.
yeah, and be able to call directly because I think that they're again, this is part of the sliding scale of not trying to scare people out of if it's less than 500 people, how do I monetize this in a way that they would ever make that money back? So that's where the folks at DAZN has to be able to contact her directly.
Do you know where a sports bar gets the licensing information?
Let me see if I can hunt that down and add it to the guide here this next week. But I believe it's DAZN. Their DAZN.com is the name of their website. Is the first place that I would start at. But I have not found them on that website having specific 2025 Club World Cup licensing information for that event specifically. We find a bunch of boxing and soccer and all sorts of other sports on there, but I have not seen them start to do that licensing directly. That's why we're doing it through an email method off the playbook so that we can talk with the folks directly at DAZN.
I was asked, do we anticipate visitation to extend outside of Seattle for these 2025 games? And I think this is possible. I mean, you're kind of looking at the wrong lineup of people, but we can speculate that we have a beautiful state and that people do come in and extend their visits. But the crowd is going to be centered around the stadium. I'm just going to go on Lynette's own soapbox on this. This is the Club World Cup has been characterized as a practice for the World Cup and characterized as not a practice. And I think it all depends on who you are and what you do. This will be a great practice for public safety, transportation, mobility. This will be a great test in that in terms of the crowds, but it may not be a practice for a small business in terms of what they can expect when the World Cup happens. So again, we do expect to have good crowds here, but I'm not sure it's going to be felt much outside of Seattle area, above and beyond what might usually happen during general tourism for folks. But I know there's plenty of entities that will be tracking that. The 9 fan zones were announced, the locations across the state. Will they have a separate playbook, Eric? Or are they going to have to
Yeah.
follow the FIFA World Cup playbook?
So they're actually part of the local organizing committee is working with those 9 communities, and the 10th is Seattle Center will have another large watch party that is happening there, and those are actually done through they're under the FIFA brand because they are through the local organizing committee working across the state on those. So they get a little bit different leeway than we would as a private entity entirely outside of FIFA, being able to do our own watch parties.
Chris, is there somewhere we can get a copy of your diagram about what path to follow? Yep, we're going to make sure that website gets out to folks in the follow-up information.
Yes, looks like the link was shared in the chat. And yeah, we're actually updating that roadmap, and we'll put that on the website so you can grab it from there probably in the next week or so.
Right. To show World Cup 25, so we're asking you to crystal ball here a little bit, Eric, and if you can't, that's fine. To show World Cup 2025 in a venue, bar, restaurant, etc., can the venue stream it through their own internet, or does it have to have or need to be cable, or do we just go to DAZN and ask those questions?
Oh, actually, that's a great question. There is no like cable television piece on this. This is just streaming. So it is not there's no moment that it's going to show up on a cable channel. DAZN is a streaming product, and that is the way that they deliver the signal. So there's on the page where they talk about DAZN, and it talks about the specific technical requirements of being able to receive that signal and what it'll be. Understand that is a streamed product, not a tuned to channel 451 on Comcast or anything like that.
Okay, but people will find a hack, right? So is that
Yeah,
possible? Okay.
yeah, sure. I fully expect if someone does not want to, and I'm not condoning this, be able to find a way to pay licensing fees, that there will be people who work their way around it just because it's a popular product all around the world. But the DAZN delivery is streaming.
Eric, do you know the timeline for licensing process with DAZN?
I do not. So I've gotten to the front door, and we finally got the answer about doing single games, and that took quite a while to actually get them to respond to that. But now that we're a month out from the games, I'm hoping that they streamline this.
All right, and we've addressed parties less than 500. That will be something with DAZN directly, and the
Mhm.
playbook will be updated with those. And so this one, I'm not really sure who the right person is on this. There's a business that's down in the stadium district. Who should they be talking to understand how their business might be restricted by access? They're directly around Lumen. So in the Club World Cup, my understanding is there's probably not going to be a lot of restriction. Do either of you know that, Chris or Eric?
There will be, I would say the answer to the first question is go ahead and reach out to us. or if you're associated with a BIA or a chamber in the Soto or Pioneer Square area, they will also be able to direct you to the best city person to talk to, but we can do that. Our understanding so far is for the Club World Cup, there will be an additional type of perimeter for fan activity, but it shouldn't. We don't think it extends beyond what you normally see with regular game days um, for the Club World Cup games. So in other words, Occidental will be closed, King Street is open. There'll probably be restrictions to the North Lot, things like that, but nothing too big. For the FIFA World Cup, it will likely be a little bit larger of a zone, of a protected zone, and that's still being developed right now, exactly what that looks like. But I would say definitely get in the conversation with folks who can help you follow and track what that will look like for 2026.
Yeah, I would add the characterization of the Club World Cup games is these three Sounders matches are expected to be like a Seahawks playoff game, and that will be a full stadium, and we're expecting to be able to be raucous and be able to support our home team with a following from fans from overseas to come see their club play in American stadiums. For the other three games, we're expecting to be more like a traditional, Lower Bowl Sounders full stadium kind of match, but not the entire stadium feel. That can entirely change if ticket sales pick up over the next month in a different way. But that was how we've been characterizing it on other calls. So thinking about it as the three Sounders matches being more like a big Seahawks game, and the other three matches being like a big Sounders game.
Great, that's good. That's good, very relative. So if a food truck is already licensed to operate in the city, if they are hired for a watch party, do they have to go through any different licensing if they're a vendor at a licensed or unlicensed watch party? We'll just call it that. Do we expect any of our food trucks or businesses like that, maybe catering type sector, have to go through any other type of licensing if they're used?
Uh, uh, that would be part of the coordination process that I would recommend calling the CUP team on for the city. My understanding is that food truck licenses often are tied to a specific location. And if you're at a new location, you will need to get permission to, reserve the parking there or to get into the park there, things like that. So it's likely that additional permission would be needed. But again, I would say reach out to us and we'll get you in contact with the experts who know.
So how do we get and this question may be for a future time. If there's a community that's trying to promote the visitors that are already coming to the area, and we want to promote them to visit, a day's drive away communities, is there a place for that? And I don't know if Eric or Chris are the right people or the chamber's the right people for that, but anything you can offer on that question?
So I'm thinking there's going to be two places for that. And again, this will part of it is to visit Seattle, their information on their branding and their playbook, as well as the chambers, the mega event playbook. But I'm also thinking that the local organizing committee who's working on the 2026 event has a lot of resources that they're putting together to be able to help guide fans about, and they're working directly with FIFA about guiding fans through FIFA resources and whatnot. So I suspect that this is going to be a later Zoom meeting that we'll be able to answer this better. But I'm thinking that there'll be kind of those two main ways to do this through our playbooks, as well as a local organizing committee may have a pathway to be able to folks can be a part of their information.
Great, thank you. And just to clarify, a DMO should follow these guidelines and promotions, so not use FIFA, but rather use soccer and not using the FIFA logos.
Yeah, that's the basics of it. If you don't want to use the word soccer, please be as creative as you want on that. We again, we were just trying to make it without getting the lawyers involved, be able to just be clear about like this, just treat this like the Super Bowl.
Okay. And then, Eric, can you revisit the expected attendance for the Club World Cup again? Give that analogy.
Yeah, Yeah, so if like a large, think of it as a Seahawks playoff game that's at home where we have the stadium is full and a lot of excited fans and whatnot. Those are for the three Sounders home games. And then the other three games, which are played by other clubs from all over the world, that those would be more like a Sounders, lower bowl is full, exciting game in that way. And again, that's just based on what the expectations of ticket sales and whatnot are that you would, have those two different kind of atmospheres with it. And again, if Paris Saint-Germain, has a huge following that comes over from France to be able to come see them at the game, and they make it more like a Sounders, one of the Sounders local matches, that's entirely possible, but not as part of our expectation at this point.
And then our closing question, and it's I'm gonna field it. Having a webinar for DMOs would be helpful. Yeah, I think so. And I think the right time for that might be two of them. One when the FIFA World Cup playbook comes out later in the summer, and also when Visit Seattle releases their branding playbook. So there's still an enormous amount of questions out there, and the people that we brought you here today, both Chris and Eric and their entities, are working hard to get the information to share with you and make sure it makes sense for us here locally, or across the state, as is the chamber as well. So we're all very much actively pursuing this information. A lot of your questions today, I think, will also inspire additional follow-ups by their teams to do some stuff. We will be doing more webinars. We will be, you've given me some ideas of how to refine our webinar catalog, if you will, already as attendees. So we'll be working through that. I'm just going to close with a really quick screen share to make sure folks know about the LOC's webpage. That's the local organizing committee. The city's not in charge of World Cup. The chamber's not in charge of World Cup. Seattle Sports Commission is not. Visit Seattle is not. We have a host committee, a nonprofit that's in charge, and they're utilizing all of us as partners to help get the information out. But they've really been working on their website. And it's a great reference to your business community when they want to know how to do business with the World Cup, when they want to know new information, and they want to know what's going on. So just give me a second here, and I am going to screen share real quick. Lee, oh, there we go, right in front of me. All right, so this is the homepage for FIFA World Cup Seattle. It's seattlefwc26.org. All right. And for entities that are trying to figure out if they can do business with the LOC or anything like that, there is a tab under About called Opportunities. And you have to scroll pretty far down. But if there are any RFPs that are active, they'll live here. And there's a lot of talk about workforce, both in hospitality, security, and social services. So there's some job training opportunities. But if you want your business to be in a catalog of businesses that you want the LOC to consider if they need a contractor, this is where you would fill that information out. There's a drop down on industry, quite extensive. So please encourage your business community to check this out to see if it's something they want to submit their name for. And then relevant to everybody is a roadmap. And they have it as a PDF, but they also have it as a dynamic graphic that gets updated. So in 2025, these are all the different things that are happening. You can start to get an idea about what is coming up and what has been achieved. We're about to 100 days, 100 days, 1 year out from the event start. So there's going to be some celebration there. But you can see there's operational planning, safety exercises, and things like that. And then when we click on 2026, we start to get more detail. And I imagine that this will be edited and updated regularly with more detail. But again, this is just a good place to, to start maybe capturing information and getting a global view of what's going on here with the games. So with that, I'm just going to make sure there aren't any other questions. Yep, thank you for the thank yous. And then will the businesses need to get an independent contractor license through L&I to sign up? I'm assuming that question is related to the LOC, and that's a question directly to ask the LOC. And so that it would be FIFA World Cup 26, ask that group. Yeah. All right. Anything else, Lee, you need?
No, just watch for a post-event email from me tomorrow. It will have the link to the video on our YouTube channel. It will have both of the website resources that were shared today. And keep an eye on the Seattle Chamber events calendar for the one-a-month webinars that Lynette mentioned. We'll be seeing you once a month till next summer.
It'll be good times. We'll be besties. All right. All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. You can always find us and ask us questions, and we'll direct you to the right spot. Take care.